All right, let's just jump right in. I've got a question for you. What's 17 times 24? No, seriously, try to solve it in your head. You feel that? That strain? The mental gears just grinding away? That's your brain doing some heavy lifting. It's slow, it's deliberate, and man, is it effortful. It's actually real physical work. If I were there with you, I'd literally see your pupils get bigger, your heart rate would even tick up. Oh, and the answer? It's 408.
Okay, now for something different. Take a look at this. How long did that take? Like a split second, right? You didn't have to think about it. You just knew. You saw her face and boom, you knew she was angry. You probably even got a flash of what's coming next. You know, she's about to say something pretty harsh, probably in a loud voice. That whole process, it was crazy fast, totally automatic and completely effortless.
So think about those two experiences. On one hand, you have the slow, sweaty work of the math problem. On the other, the lightning-fast, intuitive read of that woman's emotion. Those two polar opposite ways of thinking, well, they're the key to understanding how your mind works, and they are the absolute core idea behind a Nobel laureate named Daniel Kahneman and his amazing book, Thinking Fast and Slow. So how do we make sense of this? Well, Kahneman has this really brilliant way of explaining it. He says, just imagine your mind as being run by two totally different characters. So let's do that. Let's pull back the curtain and meet the two little guys, the two agents, who are basically pulling all the levers inside your head.
Now, to be clear, Kahneman himself says these aren't, literal things in your brain. You can't find them in an MRI. He calls them fictitious characters. But he does this for a really good reason. Our brains are absolute suckers for a good story. We're wired for it. So it's just so much easier to get a handle on how we think if we imagine these two characters, each with their own personality, their own quirks, their own way of doing things.
All right, so let's meet the cast. First up, we've got System 1. This is the star of the show, really. It's fast, it's intuitive, it's automatic, it's running in the background all the time without you even noticing. That was the system that looked at that photo and immediately went, she's angry. Then you've got System 2. This is the slow, deliberate, logical part of your mind. It's the one you had to drag out of bed to do that 17 times 24 problem. And here's the dynamic. System 1 is constantly feeding ideas to System 2. Gut feelings, intuitions, suggestions. And most of the time, System 2, being kind of lazy, just nods and says, yeah, sure, sounds good.
So let's really dig into System 1, because it's pretty much the main character in the story of our minds. It's a marvel, really, an efficiency machine. It's the reason you can understand what I'm saying right now without thinking about it, or drive a car down an empty road, or jump when you hear a loud noise. It's handling thousands of tiny decisions every single day so we don't just get totally overwhelmed. But, and this is a big but, our hero has some serious flaws, some major blind spots.
You see, System 1 has one main goal in life, to keep things easy. It's always trying to achieve what Kahneman calls cognitive ease. And a logic goes something like this. If something is easy to process, it feels familiar. If it feels familiar, it feels comfortable and safe. And if it feels comfortable and safe, it feels true. It's a massive shortcut our brain takes all the time.
And right there, that's where things can get a little dangerous. Because this love for things being easy can be used against us. I mean, listen to this quote from the book. It's so powerful. A reliable way to make people believe in falsehoods is frequent repetition. Why? Because familiarity is not easily distinguished from truth. Think about that. System 1 doesn't care about facts. It doesn't do any fact-checking. It just asks, does this feel familiar? Does this feel easy? And if the answer is yes, it gets a thumbs up.
This gets at another one of System 1's biggest habits. It is a machine for jumping to conclusions. It's incredible at it. It takes whatever little bits and pieces of information it has, and it instantly weaves them into a story that makes sense, a coherent story. For example, if I tell you, after a long day in the crowded streets of New York, Jane discovered her wallet was gone, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Pickpocket, right? Of course. Your System 1 just created a perfect cause and effect story, even though I never ever said the word pickpocket. And this tendency to create stories leads us right into one of System 1's most famous biases. It's called the availability heuristic. That sounds complicated, but the idea is super simple. We judge how likely something is to happen based on how easily an example pops into our head. So, if you can recall something easily, maybe because you just saw it on the news or it was really dramatic, your brain just assumes it must be super common, way more common than it probably is.
The classic example of this is flying versus driving. You know this one. A plane crash is, thankfully, incredibly rare. But when one happens, oh man, it is all over the news for weeks. The images are intense, they're dramatic, and they stick in your mind.
Car crashes, on the other hand, they happen every single day, but you barely hear about them. So what happens? Our fast, intuitive System 1 screams, flying is terrifyingly risky, even when our slow, logical System 2 could look up the stats and see that driving is, by far, way more dangerous.
So you might be thinking, okay, if System 1 is this impulsive, error-prone machine, why doesn't the smart, logical System 2 just step in and clean up the mess? Well, that brings us to the most important thing you need to know about our second character. System 2 is, profoundly, fundamentally, lazy.
System 2 is the part of you that you think of as you. You know, your conscious self, the one that makes choices, that focuses, that reasons things out. It can do absolutely incredible things. It can solve that math problem. It can learn a new language. But all that stuff takes a ton of energy. It's exhausting. And our brains are basically hardwired to save energy whenever they can. So System 2 lives by one simple rule, the law of least effort. If it can get away with it, it's going to let System 1 run the show.
And I'm not kidding when I say it's hard work. This isn't just a feeling. It's a real, physical thing. When you really fire up System 2, your whole body gets involved. Your pupils get bigger, your blood pressure goes up, your heart beats faster. Your brain is literally burning through sugar, its fuel supply. That's why you can feel totally wiped out after a long meeting or a tough exam. Thinking hard is hard work, and our bodies are programmed to avoid it if they can.
Okay, so we've met our two characters, the impulsive, jump-to-conclusions hero and the powerful but super lazy controller. So now what? What's the point of knowing all this? The big question is, how can we use this to actually become better thinkers, to become better directors of our own minds and make smarter choices? Well, Kahneman gives us a really practical three-step guide. Step 1, recognize the signs. When you're facing a big, important decision and a super quick, super confident answer just pops into your head, that's a red flag. That's System 1, and that's your signal to just slow down. Step 2, wake up System 2. You have to do it on purpose. Challenge that first gut reaction. Ask yourself, okay, wait a minute, what might I be missing here? And step 3, and this one is so important, get an outside view. Basically, stop focusing only on your unique situation. Ask, what happens to other people in situations like this? Look for the statistics. This helps you break out of your own biased story and look at the actual probabilities. At the end of the day, the biggest hurdle we have to overcome, according to Kahneman, is just how overconfident we are. And it all comes back to System 1. It's such a good storyteller. It takes the tiny bit of information it has and builds this neat, tidy, simple story that makes us feel like, yep, I've got this all figured out. That feeling of a good story, that's what makes us feel so confident. But the danger, as Kahneman points out, is that it completely blinds us to the vast ocean of stuff we just don't know. So, I'll leave you with this one thought to chew on. You've now been properly introduced to the two characters running the show inside your head. You've got the fast, impulsive storyteller and the slow, lazy controller. So the next time you have a really big decision to make, just ask yourself, who's driving this thing? Who are you letting take the lead?